but one of them is gonna have to go home. As we get down to the bottom, it is our blue Zerg representing my insanity. It is Kane. Haven't looked great so far here in the World Championship Series. And up to the north as our red Protoss representing alternate attacks all the way from Germany, it is ShoWTime.
I find ShoWTime to be pretty damn good up against Zerg, but he's definitely, you know, sometimes he's against very good play, he's gonna struggle a little bit more. You know, we saw him lose against Snoot yesterday. So here up against, you know, a Kane who's been playing very well himself overall, you know, just going with the build, picking it, going for the right execution is going to be very important. And I feel like ShoWTime, we already kind of know what to expect out of him. You know, he's going to be that guy that takes a third base, goes for sentry attacks, then, you know, keeps on getting his upgrades. He's been like once upon a time, you know, in a game, he kind of surprised me when he went for the commitment with the Stalker. I think it was in one of the games yesterday on this map, actually, up against Snoot, where at some point it almost looked like he was going to break him, but in the end didn't. Whereas as Kane here, you have a lot of options. You can go into Swarmos, you can go into Mutas. Kane, for me, is one of the best Zergs to transition into Mutas and, you know, play the base trade. He's played that style a lot. That's all he played for some time. I know, you know, he probably got inspired by Su, who was at the time, you know, was doing really, really well with that, you know, when he got the few second places in GSL.
That was a few.
That he reached.
Yeah, well, ShoWTime's going to head on down here, see that there is that hatchery down, and play a little bit more fine from that point on. He's getting his Nexus down, not really worried about too much after seeing that hatchery in the back of this base.
It's been his go-to build. Gateway, the Nexus, without any gas, so if Kane wanted, he could easily go for something like, you know, a hatch first on the gold, even double hatch before pull would, I guess, will succeed quite easily early on. There is no way you can really punish that if you open the way you're doing here as ShoWTime, so could be, you know, some adjustments here to make for Kane, who I'm sure watched all of, you know, the recent VODs from ShoWTime to try and see how he likes to open, how he likes to play, and already has thought on how to counter.
Well, wall-off is completed. This probe is hanging around down towards the bottom here, and it's unlike ShoWTime to go for something very, very cheesy, so he's just wanting to get in there and get that scout down, spot this third hatchery, gets a good read on that with the lings elsewhere, not able to deny that scout.
And I remember yesterday on this map, when ShoWTime played against Snoot, we had Mana versus Firecake coming later on in the day, and we all thought that this was going to be the longest game, but no. There was a split map situation during Snoot versus ShoWTime on this very map, in which ShoWTime went for a lot of Tempest, a lot of Void Race, and ended up, you know, staying very long in the game for a guy who was pretty much dead against too many Corruptors. So I don't think he's going to want to look, you know, to split the map here, possibly against a Kane who still can go for Swarm Host. Like, Kane is one of those guys that can play a lot of styles very well. Maybe not as well as Snoot in terms of Swarm Hosts, but he can play Swarm Host, so one thing to keep in mind.
Only one creep consumer going for Kane at the moment across these. Just the one queen that he has available to him is prioritizing other things before getting out other queens, actually, which is kind of interesting. Sometimes you see that because you can't actually spend this much lava across 3 hatcheries this early on, because you just don't have the mineral bank up to actually get rid of all of that. But it's going to be the Stargate on the other side here for ShoWTime, which does lead us to potentially some oracles coming out and trying to poke around.
Maybe Phoenix. Phoenix possible here too. He's already taking double gas on his natural, so he's not going to be any kind of, you know, big pressure with like some Stargate units. And yeah, Phoenix is.
Yeah, it was rallied into his main base.
I don't even know why, but I could feel it.
Rare that you actually get to see this actually nowadays.
This is old school.
Yeah.
So, usually you follow this up, you know, with a pretty quick third, a Robo, you go into Colossus, and then you go into Blink, or you can do Phoenix straight into Blink and +2, and then delay your Robo a little bit more. You know, the trend before was that when you go for Phoenixes like this, you're going to force Hydralisks, because otherwise, you know, your Phoenixes, they're still going to fly into Spores, keep on killing drones left and right. He not only killed the first Overlord very quickly here, but he's going for another one on the top right-hand side. So right now, ShoWTime is already going to be very annoying here with those Phoenixes forcing, you know, overlords much earlier here for Kane than he would have liked to make those.
+1 is on the way behind this for him. Kane is going for his layer as well as 2 extra gas geysers to accommodate the 3 across the bases that he's got, and tons of drones are on the way. With seeing the Phoenixes, and he knows that he can just make drone after drone after drone, doesn't have to worry about too much on the ground, and then from that point on, and his spore crawlers as well as queens to fend off these small attacks.
Yeah, ShoWTime has been looking for overlords on his side of the map. He, I think, cleared almost all of it. Now he realized that there isn't anyone there, so he's gonna want to look to pick up, you know, some drones here and there, get a few kills on these ones. He knows that, you know, right now he needs to build up his own economy while teching, and as many drones, or the more drones he can kill, the better it's gonna be here for him. But Kane is actually pulled quite a bit ahead in terms of walkers, 60 drones to 48 probes right now.
Yeah, well, he's going to pick himself up this queen to start things off. The 4th Phoenix wasn't there with it for a while, so he had to go for 2 lifts instead of the usual 1 to try and deal with that.
Yeah, finally a Twilight here goes down. Should line up decently well with, you know, when +1 finishes to start +2 and blink. So gonna skip on that robo for now, which actually on this map, since the 3rd base is so open, can make a very few timings with a lot of Hydralisks and Zerglings very, very strong. Like Kane, he went for Rotron, but as a safety Rotron. So far he hasn't had to use it. And if he chooses to, he could actually just go for a bunch of Hydralisks, be safe against the Phoenixes, go for a 4th base, and then go for a macro game, you know, with upgraded Roach Hydra plus Vipers. He has quite a few options here.
Yeah.
He could go into Infestation Pit now for that. He could go for just the Swarm Host. And we do see the Infestation Pit go down now, so...
It's so funny that he's actually prolonged this Phoenix production to up to 7. Sometimes when you see this, you actually see +1 weapons coming in for those Phoenix to make them a little bit more potent. And there it is actually going down. So there is the potential, or there was the potential, that if you caught the Hydralisks as they were coming out, you can pick them off very, very fast. And they're really, really powerful actually when they have that +1 weapons attack.
Nice calls so far in this series.
Thanks, man.
We call it, no. I didn't mean only you, but
I know.
We're definitely doing better here than we did yesterday in Haas's last game.
Well, yeah, maybe. All right, well, he's going to run off down to the left-hand side here and make sure that all those Phoenix are going to be intact, using those for later on aggression.
This is something I feel almost never see, going into Charge and High Templar here.
Yeah.
I think... Was he anticipating some kind of, you know, lots of Hydralisks plus Roaches, in which case, you know, you can do okay against this.
Wow.
Later on in the game, as there will be more and more Swarm Hosts possibly made here, it becomes, you know, almost impossible to fight with just Zealots and Templars. So I don't know what ShoWTime's plan is here. Like, ideally, when you go for this style, you would like to have a Robo for a Prism that you can send inside, say, for example, the Natural. You warp in a lot of, you know, Zealots, maybe even drop in some Archons there. And then you attack at the 3rd base at the same time with all of your army. But usually fighting against Locusts is going to be very difficult with the composition that ShoWTime is going for right now.
Well, these Swarm Hosts are on the way down towards this natural, or at least the 3rd base location. But the Phoenix continue to be extremely cost effective, and these Hydralisks are having a hard time of actually chasing them down. A drone here, a drone there, and after forcing out the Hydralisks with the Storm now on the way, if they get a little bit too eager in their positioning, they will end up melting. So it's a cool composition that we're seeing here from ShoWTime at the moment.
Yeah, oh well, cool. It looks cool. I don't know if it's going to do nearly as cool if it has to fight against Swarmos and Locusts.
We'll see. Archon is being morphed in as well, and he does have Storm now. So
the creep spread, by the way, a little bit lackluster so far here from Kane. He was doing a lot better yesterday against Stern, but he's starting to put a lot more effort into it. We see 3 queens actually in position, you know, to start putting down, or placing down, you know, more creep tumors. I like the 3 spore callers. It's really going to help in defending against any kind of, you know, Phoenix or War Prism that could get in there. I don't know what ShoWTime is expecting to achieve with this this small chunk of army here. Like I said, Locust is going to be very strong against this kind of composition here without Colossus.
Yeah, especially since it's been seen on the left-hand side as well. Unless he just wants to completely, as I've said in the previous couple of days, bulldoze through and go for Storm onto the Locusts as well as Hydralisks. But he only has 4 High Templars, and I don't think that's going to be enough Storms to break these kind of locations just yet.
I'm a little bit surprised that ShoWTime's not going to try to drop any High Templars for Storms. That 3rd base would be ideal. You know, he could come in from the dead space, but there is nothing, Yeah, right there. Right there. That's where you score the big drone counts that you can snipe. But instead of that, he's going for Zealot drop on the third base, the natural, sorry, which is what I mentioned at first. The thing is, right now, it's kind of late for him to do that. There should be enough here for ShoWTime to defend against that.
That is a ridiculously well defended, that natural, but if he just goes elsewhere, it could be a lot of resources down the drain if it's not ever used. He goes into the base. Oh, he's actually going to pick up a Viper. Wow. Really nice little move there by ShoWTime to kill off a very important unit. Double
Colossus production has begun here, and ShoWTime is going to, when they look to start assembling his Death Ball, the thing is, Kane is going full snoot mode here. He saw the games from yesterday. He wants to split the map here, and ShoWTime, he's going to start throwing away, some Zealots on the left-hand side to try and snipe that base off, to try and delay it here from Kane. But I don't think that Kane's about to die anytime soon. And with Vipers, he's going to have a lot of initiative to do the same thing that Snoot did yesterday against ShoWTime, when, you start abducting these Colossus, you snipe them, you kill them, not really losing anything, you're just cost-effective.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yes, ShoWTime can limit Kane here to 3 bases. Warp Prism harassment on the right-hand side again here for ShoWTime. Just really keeping Kane on his toes. But the Swarm Host player from here on out, we've seen how well 3 bases can work for Snoot. Yeah. We've seen that for a long time. Here come the Phoenix as well now to try and get into some of the action. If the Zealots had actually brought down the Spore Crawler in there, they could have done even more.
Yeah, but just one Spore. Just one Spore anyway against this many Phoenixes. They're like the happiest Phoenixes. They're doing a lot of damage. ShoWTime needs to be careful, needs to pull back on time. And this has done quite a bit of damage, actually.
He came into this game expecting the style out
13 drones.
What we're seeing here from Kane. Gets all of those drones, and, well, still, Kane is maxed out. He's still at 70 workers. 36 have died off, so he's made 106 so far in this game.
Look at Kane's face. He's not looking very happy with this. Or is he always like this when playing?
I think he's always like that. I'm not sure. But regardless of that, he, at the moment, is looking quite intense to the point where he's really concentrating down on this, trying to figure out a solution to the problem. And this base has been threatened so much, he's more than happy to continuously make huge amounts of static defense at that natural.
2-2 is going to finish here for Kane, who I really like this, actually. The fact that he went for Evo. ShoWTime's moving out with a very, very scary army here, Kyle Harris. He has 5 Colossi. He has a very good mix overall. The thing is, he really doesn't have that many Stalkers, and he doesn't have Blink yet, which is very unusual for PvZ. Like, you never go charge into Blink Stalkers later on. That used to happen against Terran once upon a time, but not really anymore. The thing is, being maxed out and with as many Templars as he has right now, there is still a chance he might be able to make something happen here, but the concave of Kane and the static defense that he has should be enough with good abducts. It's really going to come down to the abducts, though. He has 3 Vipers with lots of energy.
Phoenix are going to try and get on top of those Vipers if they come anywhere near, but at the same time, obviously, the Hydras will zone those out from the ground for Kane. I figured that ShoWTime may have gone for an aggressive move down towards the left when he was dropping there and knew that the Roaches and Hydras were out of place, but the static defense and Swarm Hosts are holding just fine for now.
ShoWTime, look at his upgrades. He's going for level 2 ground armor now. 3-1 upgrades right now against 2-2.
Good feedbacks.
He has such a much earlier saturated 4th than Kane, which is actually, he's killing his 4th base right now. So ShoWTime, I think he's just gonna try to suffocate his opponents. Yesterday up against Snoot, he went for the Stargates very, very quickly. He kind of accepted that it was gonna be a split map situation. He learned the lesson, Kyle Harris. Today he's saying, I'm not gonna split the map with you. I'm gonna suffocate you completely with 4 bases against 3. Never gonna let you expand again.
Kane does look a bit anxious about this as this continues on. Storms are going to rain down on these Locusts, and if he's going to push forwards, this is a good time to do it. He's expended quite a bit of energy on those Storms to actually clear that up and allow him a little bit of room to go for this. So he's killing off those Spine Crawlers, he's getting on top of the Swarm Host, dropping Storms on all of the reinforcing units that are trying to keep the Swarm Hosts alive here. And if he can actually just rip this location apart, look at the supply advantage he's taking.
ShoWTime's positioning and concave beautiful here, making sure no Vipers could come in and abduct any of the Colossi. They're still all alive, and he's reinforcing with a lot of gateway units behind this, a lot of Stalkers and Zealots coming in. ShoWTime is still maxed out here.
Perfect slow push there for ShoWTime as he dropped the Storms, found that window of opportunity and crushed on through. Once those Storms go down at the front as Kane, I think you've got to be very, very fearful. When a Protoss commits to that, then, I mean, why else would he be in that position?
That was very, very well conducted here of a game by ShoWTime. And to be honest, this kind of looked like what I was expecting yesterday out of Mana vs Firecake. which turned out to be a completely different match than that. That's what I expected their match to look like. But in the end, it's ShoWTime here that shows us, you know, that up against Swarm Host, you can suffocate a Zerg if you play really well like this.
Yeah.
If you make all the right moves, you know, kill units here and there, do a little bit of light harassment, and then go for a timing like this with exactly enough Colossi, quite a few High Templars as well. You know, since he opened High Templar, and he had them from very early on, they were very high on energy, by the way, which really helped with not only a lot of storms, but feedback being available. Vipers couldn't fly in, and Kane even played it very well. Rather than just, you know, tilting and flying in with the Vipers and getting them feedbacks, he stood back with them. He just waited, tried to weather the storm, literally, but didn't happen.
Well, next map is going to be Catalina here. Todd, between these two, and ShoWTime looked really good there in that game. Kane was getting to the position that he wanted. Of course, he was having to replenish a load of drones, but he knew that was going to be the case anyway for a long time in that game, and was very active about it, didn't make that many units whilst that was going on. So I think Kane was in an okay spot as well, but ShoWTime just played that out brilliantly. On Catalina here, Todd, who are you favouring regarding after you've seen that first match?
Maybe ShoWTime a little bit, but I feel like Kane, if he was to play, you know, his usual style, which on this map, I think a good thing he could do is what I mentioned earlier, you know, going for links and roaches, making sure he's safe, and then doing a transition straight into Spire and Mutas, playing the base trade, you know.
Yeah.
He's really good at that. Like I said before, Kane, he can play Swarm Host, he can play it well, but not nearly as well as Snoot, and that's really, you know, what kind of cost him the game to some extent in the previous game.
Yeah, potentially. All right, well, let's get into things. It's going to be game number 2 here between Kane and ShoWTime. Both of these players really having a proper upstart here in 2015, showing great results across the board in WCS. And let's see who's going to move on to a round of 4. It means a lot for both of these guys, as we have spawning on the right-hand side here of Catalina down to the bottom as our blue Zerg representing Mind Sanity. It is Kane. The great round of 32 and round of 16, but his round of 8 so far hasn't gone the best just yet because of this man. Over to the left-hand side, it's our red Protoss representing alternate attacks. It is ShoWTime.
And ShoWTime on this map, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, still went for his standard / safe opener that he seems to appreciate so much, you know, the Gateway M13, this time at the ramp, followed by Nexus without any kind of gas. I mean, he's up against Kane. Kane's not really known, you know, for cheesing all that much, and again, as ShoWTime, if you go for that safe build, you're gonna be okay against most things. Kane, on the other hand, like, he really doesn't have to be greedy or anything. He could be decently greedy if he wanted to. He actually checks for proxies in his main.
Wow.
For a second here with the drone.
Well, just want to cover all his bases, I guess. That is something that you never know. You never know. In a best of 5, when somebody goes up, as much as ShoWTime isn't really the cheesiest of players, he just likes the stable, strong macro play. You never know what can change someone in a high-octane situation like this. So I like that by Kane.
I hope he goes Mutas. I really want to see how ShoWTime is going to be able to deal with that style, because it can be very difficult, especially on a map like Catalina. But with these positions, ShoWTime, if you wanted to be very aggressive, you know, if you wanted, you know, take a third, go into 8 gates and do some big aggression, it would be a lot scarier than on the other positions, in my opinion. Just because, like, he can even make a pylon up in his main and warp outside.
You know, I think ShoWTime, even the pylon might just, for him that down, might be seeing what Kane was doing on the side, because he was even checking for cannon rushes and stuff like that, and bringing the second drone down to contest that, and got on that probe very quickly as it was coming into the base. So Kane is playing so cautiously, like more cautious than we've actually seen him. I wouldn't say against Haas, but he's playing at cautious Haas levels in this series at the moment.
As good as it can be, right now it's not the right choice, because ShoWTime is the one who tricked Kane quite a few times. Yeah.
Well, he's going to go back in here with the probe, see if we can get a little bit of a look around, and we'll end up seeing there is a lack of gas. Maybe try and dart over to the left side to spot if there will be a third after getting this read. And from then on out, he will be playing his own game. There's not a whole lot that Kane can do without any gas at this point to really threaten our Protoss player.
Kane's gonna play gasless since he had to rush that third base, which I guess is not that important early on. It doesn't really need speed. I don't think the ShoWTime, you know, goes for aggressive builds enough for it to be scary. And even then, you know, Kane, he can easily, you know, in a moment go for a roach run, make sure that he's safe and all that. I wonder what Kane's plan is, and if he already has like a very defined one. With you know, with the loss in the first game on one of the maps where Swamos is supposed to be pretty good, he definitely should try something else, in my opinion.
Now that Stalker will block these lings off for now, and see now what he's going to be able to do from that point on. ShoWTime, I'm predicting, just can happily go to a very quick third base from here. And just keep himself well locked down. Stalker's actually going to start moving across the map. I mean, he saw the lack of gas, so that it doesn't matter too much. He could do something like that, but at the same time, doesn't want to overextend too much into the map. He's playing it cautious, getting that overlord at the back.
ShoWTime always gets a quick Stalker, and I think this Robo is going to be spotted here, Kailaris. It's going to be a pretty big deal. ShoWTime is really not the guy to cancel, but here he has a very good opportunity to possibly cancel and go into gateways, but I don't think he will. ShoWTime is that guy who likes to play solid. He's not Haz, simply put. Like Haz is going to become the reference for all this kind of cancel and, you know, tricks that you can use in matchups.
As I say about a few players, but for me, Haz is that very cerebral player that is always looking to mess with his opponent's mind, and that's really, really fun to watch.
He became the symbol, the beacon of light of all Protosses.
It's beautiful. It's how Protoss should be played, man, in my opinion.
It is.
One of the ways, definitely. The other way is how ShoWTime usually goes about things. Extra gases. War Prism's actually going down to complement these 4 gateways that he's going to have available to him.
Which is unusual. Usually you just go for 3, but I guess since he wants to go for aggression, it's going to make his aggression that much scarier. ShoWTime, usually when you go for this, it can be pretty good to all in behind it. Like, you know, throw down a Robo Bag, go for like a double or triple Colossus, all in. We already have roaches in productions, like with the third base not being attempted so far by ShoWTime. I think Kane's realizing that there could be some aggression.
There's a probe with this. He could actually try and make cannons if he force fields him out.
Oh, he is?
This is...
Oh, he's going to go for the force field on the ramp, and a cannon warped in here.
Oh my god. ShoWTime. Oh wow. Well, okay, so
there's nothing on the path.
Yeah, I was expecting him to go towards the ramp.
Oh, he's going all the way...
Wait, what? What?
Oh, he's not doing it.
He shepherded it out to actually... Oh, wow, that's so amazing. He had vision on the front. He's bringing it forward to actually throw down the pylon to reinforce later on. He's not going to expect a probe having come out there, and he's protecting his ramp, and he's like, well, okay then, great, I've protected my ramp, that's fine. This is kind of cool here from ShoWTime.
Usually with this, though, you go for an immortal push or something behind this, but now it's going to be pure gateway here by ShoWTime. He's about to reach, I think it's 6 or 7. He's chrono boosting out all the gates. Yeah, he's on 8 gates.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. ShoWTime. Okay, if this works, then that's pretty impressive. Kane, of course, is supply blocked at the moment, and one of those overlords ended up falling. The Zealots are going to trade up against some Zerglings, which isn't exactly the best. But can this work, Todd?
Usually not. But we've seen, you know, force fields winning games here and there. Mostly thinking about potting here. He's made some magic work in his recent games against Zerg. The thing is, Kane is really worried about another War Prism in the main. Doesn't know about this army. He could get force fielded out of his third base, Skylaris.
He sees it. He sees it now. He's going to have to do something, but he's being a little bit apprehensive about the movement forwards, having to defend his back at the back with these force fields and a Stalker to start things off.
You know what ShoWTime could have done? Fly the War Prism in the main. Lure all the units of Kane. Go there. Actually, he finally gets the force fields here to lock him inside of his natural. I'm actually surprised that Kane hasn't started something like Tunneling Class. He hasn't even started speed for his roaches. He's only pumping out units.
2 of those gateways going to be underpowered. Extra force fields will land for this third base so that he can try and put on some pressure here. There's not that many units there. The roaches are going to need to go all the way around before they can even get in. There's no way that ShoWTime's going to be able to let these up. He will keep force fielding those off. Just a small little slit there for some of those units to sneak on through. But the Zerglings have got into the main base. Roaches get cleaned up in the natural, and he will continue to power up the third.
Okay, finally, Kane, you need to go around, man. You're not going to get up there. There's too many sentries. He goes around with chunk of roaches and Zerglings.
Oh, there's a few roaches in there that he will be able to pick up for completely free, but here comes the left-hand side flank, now going to try and be exploited here by Kane as he comes around. A few force fields are going to seal that off, extra units being warped in, but ShoWTime takes a supply advantage, army advantage, and the units here have been so cost-effective for him because of way the force fields have been used.
He kills so much. He reduced the army count of Kane massively, killed a lot of drones.
Wow, GG, ShoWTime. Oh boy. Able, just even the small little detail of taking the probe over there to throw down that pylon and really catch Kane off guard is something that in this series, Kane was not expecting. Not at all.
Yeah. It's a little bit weird though, like, I wonder what he was thinking when he saw the army down there and he realized that for a second he could have been force-fielded out of his natural and then he still didn't go down the ramp. But the thing is, if you go down, then you have to take the fight and you can still kind of get your army split, so it's very difficult. ShoWTime with this build, he basically really exploited, you know, the overlay of the map and used the map terrain to his advantage, much like Parting did recently.
Well, ShoWTime at the moment is one game away from moving on to the round of 4. What a performance he has put on so far here in these past 2 games. Let's hear from the expert panel to see exactly how ShoWTime has been able to do this.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. I'm with the boys once again. Another series, another one-sided one so far. Rotterdam, let's go into game number 1. I know we were here watching it and you had that massive grin like you have right now. Your eyes were sparkling and you loved everything that ShoWTime did.
Yeah, I really did. Like, I've been playing an unhealthy amount of StarCraft lately, like hundreds and hundreds of games. And there's one style in PvZ that I truly fell in love with, and that is that Nexus Spurs into Phoenixes with +1 attack, and then instead of dropping a robo immediately like people used to do, you actually rely on charge. I like to eat in DTs as well. He didn't do that, but I think this is an extremely strong style, and I was really curious to see how Kane would deal with it. And I actually thought the way that Kane was dealing with it was a very good one, where he didn't make a Roach Hydra attack. A lot of people probably thought like he should just Roach Hydra attack against all these Phoenixes, but +1 Phoenixes actually wreck those builds. And if a Zerg commits a lot of their resources into an attack like that, and it doesn't work, it's almost game over. So I felt he took the right approach against it, and ShoWTime still made it almost look easy. Like, he played a phenomenal game, and I think that's a phenomenal build. I was very excited to see it.
If we go back to think about ShoWTime in the round of 16, in all honesty, he squeezed out of that group. It was very close. He wasn't looking that good, and a lot of people saying he's not playing like the same ShoWTime we usually see, but up there right now, he is killing it.
Yeah, some solid multitasking in that game, and maybe he saved some of his stronger builds for this part of the tournament, because we didn't see that build earlier on.
Yeah,
that thing looks crazy strong, and it's very unorthodox. We've never seen that around before. Like Rotterdam said,